Now I'd like to welcome to the stage all of the Young Climate Prize winners and also their mentors who are here today. So welcome Zeal-Henry, Katie Swenson, and Sebastián Acampante. Well, congratulations so much to the three of you. Your presentations were super inspiring, and we're so proud to share the stage with all of you. So thank you so much, and congratulations again, I think. I want to start with asking the mentors of these young people. Maybe we could all just share a little bit, from your profession, from your stage in life, from your career, what it's like becoming a mentor, and what specifically, maybe Joseph, you could start. What was it like meeting and mentoring Amara for you?
Well, I guess everyone got a taste of it today. So I guess for me, I actually partly became an architect through mentorship. So I was at school in South London, and some architects came and they mentored some of the students. And they mysticized the career and took away some of the sort of the things that aren't necessarily true, and sort of lowered the barrier to entry for me into that profession. So I guess the idea of mentorship to me is quite personal, because it was like something that unlocked a career and a practice for me. When you then jump on with Amara, that's not exactly the way it goes, but you try to find a thread that's interesting for the conversation. I think we found two things that sort of sustained our conversation. One was Amara has this savant natural ability to go operational governance of institutions. Some people are naturally good at dancing or singing, and Amara's good at setting up organizations as a natural ability. So we talked a lot about how to sustain things in the long term. How do you set things up right first? So I was always pretend you are that big global institution already. How do you make decisions? Who do you want around? How do you, so we that was a point of and then the other thing was just, ultimately you're still a human being. And there's a moment of every decision when you're young seems like the most important decision you're ever gonna make. And then obviously Amara has so many options. So it's different to when I was young. It was my decision was do I go to the 120th worst school of architecture or the 121st worst school of architecture in the UK? For Amara, it's which Ivy League school is going to pay me to go, So I think there's different levels of decision, but ultimately the principle that you have so many options, and it's not that you make a decision and options go away, you make a decision and more options follow. And I think that was actually where I think I was most valuable, was this idea that you have the whole world ahead of you. You don't have to worry about every decision right now, because whatever you make, I trust that you will find the best way, and you can't predict where life will go, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Which I think people don't really tell that to young people. It's always this is so important, your grades, your exams are so important. Obviously, Amara's about to fly out because she has exams tomorrow. Oh yeah, Amara's also 17 years old, which I didn't realize for a while. So I think that's actually what's really important, is that we live in a society that's quite credential heavy. It's well, I have a master's, so therefore I must have value. I have this professional certification that must have value. When you meet someone who's 17, it's just them. It's their ideas, it's their thoughts which have value. And I think we can learn a lot by not being oh, you have education, that makes you somehow intrinsically more valuable than someone who doesn't. Because here's a 17-year-old who is probably thinking much more sophisticatedly than most of the people I meet in a professional day-to-day life.
Katie, can you share a little bit about what it was like mentoring Blossom?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So first of all, just to say that the way this happens a little bit is that the world around finds a group of mentors while they're doing their selection process, and then they match you. So when Blossom and I first met, not knowing necessarily what we might have in common, I think the first thing that happened was just this kind of joyous, symbiotic relationship. We came together very quickly around this core love of the idea of home and this kind of premise that has underpinned so much of my life and, as you can see, is motivating such incredible outcomes in Blossom's life. So that home is, of course, not just shelter, as she said. It's also not just housing, that there's something about the dignity and both necessity, but also dignity of home. And so we really kind of got off to the races so beautifully. We also invested a lot of time in getting to know each other. I think what we hope is that the storytelling, the sense of purpose, that this relationship will last a long, long time. So we invested in that. And then I found that, Blossom has this unbelievably ambitious project and has a lot of things figured out, but she also had an openness to learn. So we decided that it would be worthwhile for her to take a trip to Kigali, Rwanda, where my team Mass Design Group welcomed her. And she spent a week working in our office. We have architects, but also landscape architects and engineers, and have invested so much of our time in understanding about culturally relevant sustainability in different contexts. So it wasn't the same context, but how do we support each other to really learn? So I think the sense of determination that you sense in all three of these amazing people, and of course the one we saw on the screen, is also complemented with that sense of curiosity and openness to learning. And then I think the last thing I'll say is that we all need to get started somehow. We heard, I think, Inaki, Douglas, Nazina, all spoke about some of their mentors or walking into a classroom and having someone recognize you. I myself started my career coming out of grad school. I had a fellowship to start my own career. And it allowed me to craft a path that has actually been sort of uniquely my own. And I think that this opportunity and ones like it give people not only the time and space, but also the sense of self and ability to have the confidence, the resources, and really identify how to match this very personal mission with a professional purpose and the means and networks to make it so. So it's really been just a huge pleasure.
Thanks, Katie. Sebastian, we'd love to hear about your relationship with Dayana. I know that you're not an architect, you're more like me, you're more of a curator and organizer. Mm-hmm. So how did that conversation go, and what you learned also from working with Dayana?
Thanks, Beatrice, Carson, and the rest of the team. Well, as a curator in these decades of working, I had been interacting with many types of wisdom, giving voices to many artists and projects, but nothing makes more sense to me, and I think to many of my colleagues, than to amplify ancestral messages, and specifically in my case, the Pre-Columbian legacy, which I think is huge, not only visually, but especially in their knowledge and their contemporary message that they have to share with all of us. At the same time, when I started doing my things, my first event, I was 19 years old, so in South America, and I know that lack of validation that young people has in southern hemispheres and everywhere. We youngs are hard to understand or to believe in that kind of dreams. And I felt this empowerment to empower, which was beautiful because I got extremely connected with the whole Aymara sense of feeling. Aymara is the community where Dayana comes from, and where I learned a lot of sweet words to understand our complex reality. And we humans had like that sympathy to make things complicated. I don't know why, we love it. And people who had been more in touch with Earth since millennials had that nature way of interacting with the Earth, and a lot of solutions that in this kind of context we can be a generational bridge to start listening, especially people like Dayana. Like, I think you perceive it when she's speaking. She's not speaking from his present. She's also carrying their voices of their grandmothers, and even you can perceive a chord of past, present, and future. And she's talking about her daughters too, who are about to come. It's like a chord, a generational chord that they are pulling with their emotions and their words, and that's very valuable. I truly appreciate this kind of environments, especially for knowing her a little bit more, their culture, and of course the message that we are helping to carry. And I desire the best of the best for this project that we are still working on.
Thanks so much. And Amara, what did you learn from working with Joseph?
I think really throughout the entire process, especially when we had really left the more lesson stage so we had our weekly meetings where we learned from people across the world, across different fields, but when we then started to use that work and I started trying to implement it in my in Preserve Our Roots, my NGO, it felt like there was a disconnect, and I didn't understand really how to implement it in my local context, because like I said before, the bureaucracy, and I really came to Joseph with that frustration. We scheduled 1 or 2 meetings, and he really then just, although he works more in the UK and has spaces in Boston, I did research about him in Chicago, in all of these spaces before we met. And he's actually created sets of cultural spaces in that same context. So he understood that while there was that cultural difference and geographical disconnect, there's still things that you can carry everywhere with you. And there are principles that you can implement that can guide you. And that's one of the really core things that I took away from him. When I was really trying to focus on one sustainability park after our first site was taken back by the government because we weren't able to build permanent structures because of, governments change every 4 years. And it was very frustrating for me. And he said, just set up an advisory board and have people from different fields who are experts, who understand a bit better each, whether governments or marketing. And that was what then helped streamline a lot of the focus and a lot of the things I was juggling as a 16-year-old. And it really, but it helped a lot. And I think he grounded me in a sense of, this is what you want to do. And so any resource that is available to you, you can utilize to then power forward. And that is something that has really stuck with me, and I will definitely carry into every project I continue to do, and to the more parks that we will hopefully and will create in the next few months.
Just to add, the advisory board was set up in 2 weeks.
No, but it was great advice, thank you.
I was like, it's taking so long, I'm so frustrated. 2 weeks, ugh.
Blossom, can you share a little bit about your experience at the Young Climate Prize and maybe what surprised you the most about working with Katie?
Okay, with Katie, honestly, I feel like I can talk all day and it won't be enough, because I would say it was how open she was. Because the first time I got the notification about how I had been paired with Katie Swenson, and I was already trying to do my research on her. Okay, who is Katie Swenson? She works with Mass Design Group. And within the first hour, she had sent me a message on Instagram. She was like, "Hi, Blossom." I was honestly shocked because she was very receptive. And I started doing my research, reading about her work, and the ideas she has about home. I saw how we shared a lot of similar values. I remember clearly reading one of her interviews with Forbes, and she said something that just stuck with me from then on. She was like, what we term affordable, sustainable housing for these people is just home. And as a young person, as an architect that was trying to design, I feel like I had gotten a bit carried away with thinking of how this thing can be efficient, it can be modular, it can be sustainable, all these things. But at the end of the day, it needs to be home for them. They need to feel safe in that space. They need to have a good foundation to start rebuilding their lives. So I feel like there's this adage in Nigeria, it's something they say, what an elderly person would see sitting down, a child wouldn't see if they climb up a tree. And I feel like that's what Katie did for me, because she really puts my work in perspective. Like, she helped me see the future of my work. I had all these rough ideas and sketches and like she said, big plans of what I wanted to do, but she helped me refine it, and she helped me understand my story. It's like past, present, and future. So she walked me through that journey. And even in the field, she felt, okay, I'm not a specialist at this. You know what? Why don't you go down to Rwanda, work with the team, get more ideas, more inputs. So we had engineers, architects. We had so many specialists, and everyone was just like sketching for me. And honestly, it was just amazing. So Katie, I didn't expect any of that, but I don't think I could have been paired with a better mentor than Katie through this program. It's been amazing.
Diana, can you share a little bit about your experience working with Sebastián and also with the Young Climate Prize as a whole?
Yes. Well, in my case, I think like it was a unique connection, because sometimes it's very difficult when you are like working in the field and you feel like you need to like respond in a positive way, because you are carrying all the responsibilities of your community and to save and restore your lake, right? But in that sense, I think like Sebastián was always trying to pay attention to like small details, like asking, for example, how are you feeling? How is everything going? Which is very important when we are climate activists. And then I would say like he was trying to see how I can help. For example, we have worked for the design of the floating rafts, how we can like improve that. And also right now we are like trying to see how we can advance and move forward. It's a connection that doesn't end here. It continues, right? So right now we are like saying maybe we can like write a children's book where we can like share the history of our lake and also try to illustrate the things that are happening. So this is like connection that I really appreciate, because it's a way how our mentors are connected with our work, but also how they respect us, right? And also I would say like sometimes he was like trying to say, oh, should I like learn Aymara? And I was saying, yes, you should learn Aymara, because Aymara is my native dialect. So now he's like learning Aymara. So that is very beautiful. That is very, very beautiful. So I really appreciate this opportunity, and like the girls say, this is like a second family for me. So I'm very grateful for that.
I want to talk a little bit about being part of the cohort and what it meant, maybe, Amara, to be one of these 25. You know, as you mentioned, every week we had these early, well, they were very early for us in New York. 9 a.m. on a Saturday was quite punchy. But what was it like for you to meet other young people who are all looking, let's say, in similar directions, not exactly the same, but how did you find being part of a cohort?
I mean, just to keep it brief, it was honestly really fun, and it grew over time. That every week repetition almost became like a habit. Like every time Saturday, that was the time I spent with these amazing individuals. And I think there were even meetings where I would be like dialing in the car, or we would be like different things with every single person around, because it was between September and December, so there was a lot of shifts happening in everyone's lives, but the consistency of everyone and the growth of their work re-inspired me in what I was doing, especially hearing about Muhammad and his story. I was able to interact with him in different conversations, and even with people who are working in the US, and I learned about the amazing things about birding. Even now, when we were in New York and we were able to connect physically, there is just this like unspoken understanding that it's something that is not only like work or one stage for, but it's personal. And in some ways it's fulfilling for us because we know that there are so many people behind us looking up to what we're doing. And so I think knowing that you're not walking that path alone has been really great, and I can't wait to work with these people in the future. Blossom and I are in the same country, although in different parts, in different states. I can't wait to see how we can then use our different cultural and ethnic knowledge to work together. And even with Diana, she's always saying, come to Bolivia, come to Bolivia. So next time, we will be up in those pictures next year, and I'll be in Bolivia, and we'll be, yes. So.
Yeah, for sure. I told you we'd be clapping Amara a lot. Blossom, we, as part of the prize, we also connected you with the first year's cohort, and there's a lot of representation from Nigeria. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your relationship with Stanley from Cycle 1, and a little bit about your experience with this cohort as well.
Okay, so I was paired with Stanley. He was part of the Cycle 1 cohort, and I feel it was really amazing. They had this buddy system, so about 2 of us from the second cohort were paired with someone from the first cohort. And I learned a lot from him because he also works in Nigeria. He's a creative designer in Nigeria. And I saw how he was able to use his project, his light models. So we actually incorporated that in our project. I remember talking about the solar, how every unit comes solar powered. So we partnered with Stanley and we're like, you know what? You have this power pack. Why don't we partner? So each model comes fully solar powered, and we're still looking forward to like future collaboration. So it was really amazing. I also met Namra through that system. So it's really, really good. And I feel like I didn't know how beneficial working with the first cohort would have been for me until I did. And it was really beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks, Blossom. Happy to hear. And Diana, what surprised you the most about meeting other young people from the climate community?
Well, I would say like the different realities, but in a way how these things that are happening are interconnected and intertwined in a way. So I would say like in these kind of like spaces, you start to like think out of the box, to like implement different kind of solutions, to say, for example, the things that Blossom is doing in Nigeria, I can implement in my project, because also we have a big issue with plastic waste. So yesterday we were having a conversation and we were saying how we can like, I don't know, use this plastic waste for creating other things. So this unique approach, for example, I don't imagine how like Amara will like be in the next following years, because she has started right now, and it's to see like, I don't know, her brilliant future, because she's very powerful. She's always like sharing this positivism that we need in this kind of work. So I feel so blessed to share with people like Amara and Blossom and the other fellows who are part of this program.
I'm wondering if anybody from the audience would like to ask any questions of this group. Just we have a few minutes, otherwise I can't see. So if no one has any questions, I will keep going. I'm kind of blinded up here. keep going? Okay. Maybe I'll start with Sebastián again. What do you think working with, between one of the big ideas we had about the Young Climate Prize was the importance of intergenerational knowledge sharing and collaboration. Is this something that you relate to in your own career, and how has this relationship between generations affected you?
Well, in my case, I always think in transversality, not only in the different branches of design or thinking in general, but in the chronological way of talking. And most of those little insights that I have during my career come from the elder somehow, or from child at the same time. It's like when I don't know, this is something that I can tell like in a really short way. When I was working in the London Design Biennale, we made a send. We were sending the artworks from the Wichi culture, which is in a jungle between Paraguay and Argentina and Brazil. And when I was introduced by our translator to our team, they introduced me as curator. And some people start talking, so they went to search for the elder of the tribe, which was the curandero, which is the shaman. They thought that I was the shaman of my group, and so they introduced me their shaman. And when I realized what was going on, I said to the interpreter, no, please, tell him this is a mistake. No, he's already coming. No. So I asked him, sorry, this was misunderstood of the words, because when I explained to my interpreter, and the shaman started thinking, and he said, no, it's okay, because you know what is good for your community. And I know what my community needs too. And the power I know is nature. The frequencies I know are nature. The power you know is art, and the frequencies you know are art. You choose things that are good for your people. I choose things that are good for my people. So basically, curandero and curador is the same. And since that moment, I start reshaping the whole perception around my career. And maybe it was because of misunderstood with someone that maybe was not that familiar with the concept of my generation. But because of that kind of dialogues, the same happened with the Sununa, with the Mayan culture in Guatemala, and the kids. The whole perception of what we were doing was extremely distorted by their imaginarium of what art was or design was. And they maybe were expressing themselves by the códice, like the original writings from the Mayan people, and didn't find the difference between writing and drawing, and all that kind of things that only happen when misunderstood happen are the things that I got most value when our knowledge and our wisdom start to mix up in a world of concepts and differences, and the magic appear in that kind of dizziness. So that's what I like of working in different poles and extremes of the perception.
And Katie, I know that when we first spoke about you becoming a mentor, it was something that you had a great passion for. But why do you think it's important, specifically with the climate crisis and to overcoming specifically climate problems for our generation, to help young people?
Oh, it's such a great question. I think what you saw from these 4 folks was how clearly they understand the problems. They've lived them. They've seen them. They don't have the kind of, it's not academic. It's not theoretical. It's also those things. They've done their research. They have dug into the whys and the whats, but they also have this kind of firsthand appreciation and also the urgency But I think actually what's been, one of the things that's been really fun about this weekend, in addition to spending it with the young folks, is also spending it with the board and your incredible group of folks. We had a beautiful lunch yesterday with one of the advisors who was saying specifically in her own career that she has learned and gained so much knowledge over the course of her lifetime about how to make partnerships, how to delegate, how to make decisions, how to organize yourself to be in company with others to make big things happen. So I think there's a tremendous, if we get it right, if we can harness the experience and expertise and commitments of an older generation who has the ability to help make things happen, but if we do it in such a way that we're not in any way patronizing, but rather we're really trusting, we know we can trust these young people to be able to actually have the right answers. But perhaps we can fuel them with the kind of encouragement and support that they need.
So we've just got 1 minute for each of the Young Climate Prize winners. What would you like to leave everybody with today? What's your message for the room?
Dang. I wish I could have thought better about this. But honestly, I would say that throughout this week, I've been in New York and I've seen and been able to learn from so many visionaries and people who have done great work in their field or continuing or thinking about. And I would just really say, thank you once again, Beatrice, for this amazing space that you have created. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Thank you. But yes, my 30 seconds now of what I say to you guys is that in every minute you spend in your life is a blessing. And I think I come from a faith place when I say that every morning we wake up, it's another chance to help someone else and to bring a smile to another person's day and to use the privilege that we have been placed in, regardless of what situation you think may be bad or good, to help someone else. And I'm going back to Lagos today, and there are so many kids who could only dream or don't even know how to dream about spaces like this. And so I would say just seek out spaces where you can help, where you can mentor, where you can pour your resources, and if it's not resources, advice, time, mentorship, support, to helping and growing and scaling, because that's where you find your true fulfillment from. And in any space that you might want to fight for, if you don't even feel that strongly about climate change, I promise you that we cannot even think about fighting anything else if we don't have a home to live in, to have that fight even starting. So with all the work that is being done here, the other 25 that you can read about probably on the website, and people in every classroom, your children, your siblings, really just push them to use their space for good. You have what you need right in front of you, so stop making excuses and reach out to us. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, all that. Connect. Yeah, bye.
I'm not sure I was the mentor.
And thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph.
No, I was just saying I'm not sure I was the mentor in this situation.
Okay, so I think for me, it would be just a reminder of how we can continue to use design as a tool for justice. And I feel like sometimes it can be all these things, but at the end of the day, each of us have everything we need to be able to make impact in the environment. It doesn't have to be a full-scale project. The little things you do, the conscious decisions you make every day affect a life. And with that understanding, we know that we can all make the world a better place. We don't all have to be on stages. We don't all have to build skyscrapers, as beautiful as that is. But if we're all conscious of the fact that we each have a way we can impact our community in the smallest of ways, I believe we can make a difference. Thank you.
Well, I only want to say that indigenous peoples, we are not in the past. We are in the present, and also we are the future. So that is the reason, because like I said, you need to include indigenous voices in different spaces. Don't think that we are in the past. We are here. Maybe some systematic inequalities didn't allow to be in these spaces. But now I am here, talking by my ancestors, through my ancestors, and through many women, indigenous women, my mother, my grandmother, they couldn't access to education. And maybe for that reason, I am carrying all the responsibility. But also, I know that without deep community work, we can't advance. And I feel so blessed that I have a community that is supporting me, helping me to advance with this work. And finally, I only want to say you that this is the common house. Nature doesn't have borders. So we need to work together if we want to live in a better world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the end of session 2. Thank you so much to all of our incredible winners, our mentors. So appreciate you. So appreciate the World Around Young Climate Prize team who are here today, and the Miller Knoll team, who we're so grateful for your support of this program. We will be back at 4:30 p.m. for the final session of the World Around Summit. See you in half an hour. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.